Buddha's golden teachings. What is meant to be will come. Do not cling, do not chase. What is meant to be will certainly come, and once it is done, it dissolves. What can be gained from waiting or longing? Life is very short. There is no time for regret. Do not let yourself be troubled if only for a minute by people or situations that cause you grief. Every encounter or parting follows its own predestined cause. Simply going along with it and finding peace therein is the most beautiful thing. When we were small, happiness was something very simple. Once grown, to live simply is what brings real happiness. Because we expect too much, we are disappointed. Because we set our dreams too far, we end up disillusioned. Holding too much inside makes it hard to speak openly. There are some people we cannot forget because our hearts cannot let go, while others we must forget because they are not worth 332-membering. We feel tired precisely because we hesitate between holding on and letting go. Sometimes we understand clearly, yet our hearts refuse to accept the truth. Anyone who enters your life is governed by karmic ties, but whether they stay long or leave abruptly depends on you. Explaining yourself can be exhausting. Letting go of attachments allows clarity. Imperfection is part of life. Regardless of how well you live, there will be praise and criticism. No matter how successful you are, people will pass both good and bad judgments. Where there is admiration, there is also dislike. Where there is jealousy, there is also disapproval. Life is like that. You cannot please everyone, so do not lose your own essence just to satisfy others. Everyone needs their own principles and sense of self-respect. Seen through other people's eyes, none of us is a perfectly consistent individual. We appear in all kinds of versions. You only need to be the best version of yourself. One does not need everyone to love them. Living honestly and generously is enough. Flowers of countless shapes and colors still spread their fragrance without hindrance. In this life, each person has their own style. Why not support each other in moving forward instead of bringing one another down? If something is worthy, then cherish it. If it brings happiness, then preserve it. If a person makes you happy, draw close. If you feel moved, then show your affection. Being human is not necessarily easy, touching the hearts of thousands, coping with other people's opinions. This is never simple, yet it is not overly difficult either. Keep a kind heart and you will be a good person. Follow your own path, and when facing life's storms, simply remind yourself that once you pass through the tempest, the sun will emerge naturally. Do not waste time sighing about your troubles in front of others, because even if you speak out, they may not truly care. Some things are easier once you let them go. Some people, when you recall them, make you feel happy. Certain pains become sources of strength once you see them clearly. Paying too much attention to one problem keeps you stuck. Indeed, no matter how simple something is, if you overthink it, it becomes complicated. Just keep a pure heart and an open mind, and whatever comes will remain simple and soon pass by. Life passes quickly. If we can leave behind illusions of fame and profit, we can touch the genuine. When problems arise, solve them lightly and discard needless entanglements. Only by keeping the mind peaceful can we move forward. Yielding the road to another frees us from petty jostling. Widening our view, we can see the rainbow after the rain. Traveling far requires light luggage. In fact, the most beautiful scenery is not what the eyes see, but what the heart perceives. Deep feelings need no words. They are shown through actions. Whenever we feel upset, remember the virtue of water. Always gentle, silently embracing and transforming all things without the need for dispute. If we each could cultivate our hearts to reach this level, how could the world not be at peace, and hearts not be at rest? If you see everyone's strengths and find meaning in everything, you will find life joyful and the world beautiful. But if you use a troubled mind to face life, everything becomes a hindrance, and the world seems ugly. Many people hope to become more beautiful. In truth, the best path to beauty is to keep one's inner self tranquil and one's spirit joyful. That kind of beauty makes others feel at ease, not dislike. Truly, whatever we receive in this life is the result of our past actions, and what we do now will shape what we receive later. Life goes on like that. If we understand this, we can limit negative thoughts and avoid blaming heaven and earth when things go against our wishes. Blessings arise from diligence and a spirit of self-sacrifice. Cultivate compassion to help those in hardship. Be grateful for the kindness of others, and keep joy in your heart toward everyone and everything. If you have faith in cause and effect, you will not do anything regrettable. Always respect others and nurture tolerance. A vast ocean is immense because it accepts hundreds of rivers, thus becoming truly expansive. In this life, there are two things we cannot avoid. We either move forward or we stop. Are you using a positive mindset to do both? A positive mindset is your best companion, helping you remain happy and healthy. Whether with someone close or a stranger, if fate allows you to connect, you should nurture good relationships. If you never light incense except in a time of urgency, holding Buddha's feet in panic is useless. Therefore, learn to accumulate kindness as if depositing into a bank. The more you deposit and the longer you do so, the greater the interest. When something happens, do not be quick-tempered. Do not rush to conclusions. Especially when angry, try to place yourself in different perspectives so you can turn big issues into small ones, and small ones into nothing. The more complicated the problem, the more lightly and gracefully you should handle it. Do not make the simple become tangled. Consciously, turn a deaf ear to worries. Almost all human troubles come from pointless comparisons. You may see that some people are worse off than you, but there will also be those whom you cannot match. When you complain about not having nice shoes, remember there are people who have no feet to wear shoes. If an opponent makes you furious, it shows you have yet to surpass them. Looking back at whoever is cursing you is pointless. It's like being bitten by a rabid dog. Must you bite it back to feel satisfied? Therefore, do not pay too much attention to malicious words. Do not view your work as a burden. Rather than complaining and letting it upset you, face it with joy and positivity. Consider work as life, as art. You will then enjoy the happiness it brings. Being alive for one more day is already a blessing, so cherish it. A human life lasts only a few dozen short years. Do not do things that leave you with sorrowful regrets. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. A day passes whether you are sad or happy. If you are not bothered by random gossip, life will be more serene and your spirit will feel lighter. Walking through life, bowing to sit quietly and calm, once the rain ends, the sun reappears and sorrow transforms into ease. Do not burden yourself with unnecessary baggage along the way. Learn to live in the wind and rain so you may understand the vicissitudes of life. When time flies by, do not paint too many dreams, do not chase illusions. Fulfill what needs fulfilling today. Observe how all is in flux, the four seasons change their robes, dreams overlap illusions, and once awakened we become whole. As long as life has not ended, live in the present, never wake up too late, realizing only in the last moments that you have been merely drifting in a dream. We come into this world to do only two big things, to be born and to die. One is already complete, only the other remains, so do not rush. What is meant to come will come, and then it disperses. Waiting or hoping does not yield anything. A wise person neither lives by the words of the world nor fears the gaze of the multitude. They only need to understand their own heart. Observing one's own good and bad points and gradually mending them is also a form of cultivation. The greatest sense of loss in life is having no spiritual place to rely on, not knowing where you should head. Whether you realize it or not, whether you admit it or not, if your heart is full of good things, nothing can bother you. If your heart is truly kind, you never resent anyone. If your way of living is truly simple, then no matter how chaotic the world is, it cannot affect you. A good person enjoys physical and mental well-being and sleeps peacefully. Good deeds are seen by heaven, earth, and revered even by deities and spirits. Without suspicion, the world is not cold. Without discrimination, the world is not distant. Without resentment, the sky remains warm. Without conflict, the seas remain peaceful. True tranquility is not sitting motionless for hours, but maintaining a calm mind to observe all things, to hear even the soft sound of flowers and grass growing. True stability arises from within the heart. You cannot find it by seeking externally. People struggle their entire lives, work their entire lives, and when they depart, they cannot take even a blade of grass or a leaf with them. Hoarding and storing up for a lifetime, in the end, you cannot carry away even a bit of illusory fame or admiration. Once you are born, whether rich or poor, reaching the end of your path, everyone must bid a final farewell. A lifetime is truly short. Many promise to live 100 years, but turn around and become a distant memory. Others part from close friends, and upon waking, find themselves separated by life and death. Thus, when there is still time, do not cause regrettable things. Do not overthink. Do not overcare. Do not cling to high expectations. In being human, having little money is all right, but do not let your determination become impoverished. Never let a lack of money narrow your vision. Even if you cannot reach lofty heights, you should still be a useful person. Appearances can be plain, but do not let your inner self become ugly. Kindness and goodness come from within, not from outer appearance. You can be physically small, but do not let your mind be narrow. No one likes a petty person. Even if your shoulders are slight and your back is thin, a benevolent heart can still bring comfort and warmth to others. You can be physically frail, but do not let your spirit be weak. Those who lack courage tend to be pessimistic and shy, so you must cultivate bravery and self-confidence. Being a bit slow to see or hear is acceptable, but do not let your mind grow dull. Always remind yourself to keep a bright heart and a clear mind so you can see far. It is possible to be somewhat hard-hearted, but you must not become so overbearing that you turn into a demon with wicked intentions. Otherwise, if you do not go to hell, then who would? You can be somewhat clever, but do not think you alone are brilliant while everyone else is stupid. Otherwise, you would be the only one who is truly clueless in this world. You can be a bit lazy at times, but never become perpetually lazy. Whatever needs to be done should be done well. Carry at least a bit of responsibility if you do not want to be a parasite on society. It is fine to be frugal, but do not be too calculating about money, otherwise you will grow accustomed to valuing people purely by their wealth and will eventually become a slave to it. Showing tolerance is good, but do not let others look down on you or exploit your kindness to keep making mistakes. Whatever happens, keep your rules and self-respect. It is acceptable to endure a certain level of hardship, but do not let sorrow go on forever, with no way out. You must learn to rise above. Some matters, once they happen, can only be accepted. Some people, once lost, must be let go. Some paths, once chosen, must be walked to the end. Many good things come from waiting, not from grasping. Therefore, you need patience if you do not want to miss your chance at happiness. Savor all the big and small occurrences in life, because tomorrow, when you look back, you may realize they were all important. Indeed, many things only reveal their value when they become memories. If there is truly a bond, time and distance are not problems. If there is no bond, you can meet but still go separate ways. Perhaps one must walk many roads and endure countless hardships to finally grow. When you see someone clearly yet remain silent, you learn the meaning of forgiveness. When you dislike someone but do not openly show it, you discover the height of respect. Maturity does not come from living longer, traveling everywhere, or facing many experiences. It arises from knowing when to let go or to be tolerant, so conflict and contention are minimized. Deep down, everyone has endured some painful burden, not because that pain has vanished, but because speaking of it solves nothing and only weakens us. True maturity means being able to keep smiling while transforming suffering into happiness. No matter how bad life seems now, you must bravely face it. Do not think of running away, and do not curse or complain. In life, many things do not turn out how we want, and that might actually be for the better. The sun will still rise tomorrow regardless of your sadness, and the moon will still set despite your anger. Covering your eyes does not turn the world into darkness, and obscuring someone else's vision will never make the light belong solely to you. In this world, only the axe may be dull, not the tree that cannot be cut. For any job, the limitation is whether a person can come up with the right approach. There is nothing inherently impossible. If someone truly wants to do something, they find a way. If they do not, they find an excuse. Life is like a glass of water. Hot or cold, if the temperature is right, you can drink it. Bitter or sweet, if it suits your taste, it is delicious. Whether rhythms are fast or slow, if pleasing to your ear, it is good music. The 4 seasons circle around spring, summer, autumn, and winter, and if any fits your mood, it is beautiful. Life is not a battlefield. There is no need to determine victory or defeat. Between people, if understanding grows, misunderstandings decrease. If we yield more, conflict lessens. Some things must be endured. Some people must be accommodated. There is no need to strive for higher or lower, or to seek others' approval or understanding, because every individual has their own perspective and personality. We often become distressed because we cling too tightly to ourself, measuring gain and loss, then blaming others for not understanding us. In truth, to be human, we must see ourselves less seriously, reduce our ego, and put ourselves in others' shoes. We will then find that life can be far more lovable. That is why the more open our heart, the greater our joy. The more we can forgive, the more we receive in return. When others gossip behind your back, do not worry too much about rumors floating around about you. A person with no ability would not stir any comment. The more exceptional you are, the more people pay attention and criticize. In this world, admitting your mistakes shows honesty, while letting go shows grace. If you offer sincerity and receive no grace in return, it means the other person is somewhat trivial and rude. When you can tolerate even life's displeasures and focus only on your responsibilities rather than personal gain, you rise to a higher spiritual level. When you can look forward with hope, look downward with empathy, and treat those above you with gratitude, you stand on a high plane of the soul. In life, we must not only look far and see clearly, but also see everything with understanding. Looking far allows us to see the bigger picture. Seeing clearly shows us that people often come together for fame and part ways for profit. Seeing through it all does not mean wanting nothing. It means keeping our heart calm and steady. The most frightening aging process in a person is not physical, but losing the spirit of self-improvement. One cannot always change their outward appearance, but one can always improve one's character within. When the mind changes, life changes accordingly. In all relationships, remember that kindness, enthusiasm, and honesty usually yield the best outcomes. Sometimes, a simple smile is warmer than politeness, and it can bring real warmth to others. Picking at other people's faults makes you less virtuous. Pointing out someone's shortcomings is not admirable. Using only your own standard to judge others reveals no one is perfect. Pushing your opponent into a corner will not necessarily destroy them, but it does eliminate any path for you to backtrack. Staring all day at everyone else's good or bad deeds won't make them lose anything. It will only leave you with no time to lift your eyes to the vastness of sky and earth. A person who is too overbearing has no friends. A heart that is too selfish only makes you weary. Only love begets genuine affection and can embrace the whole world. When you have free time, reflect on your own mistakes instead of judging others. Words themselves may not wound the body, but they can damage virtue. Of all evil speech, none is worse than slander. So be careful when you speak. Do not invent things that are untrue. Even when joking, there must be limits. When exposing someone's faults, do not go to the extreme. Leave some room for decency in your words. When criticizing, do not be overly harsh, keep a bit of compassion, even if you are in the right. Show forbearance so that when you handle a matter, you do not push it to the brink. Accepting others is like giving yourself opportunities. Having empathy for those around you helps expand your own mind. A tolerant person treats life with a kind heart. A dignified person always maintains respect for others. A cultivated person's inner quality is shown by gentle attitudes toward people and all affairs. If you think of others you will be worth caring about, respect them, and life will respect you in return. Addressing everything lightly and calmly, your heart will become peaceful. Without competition or contention, there is nothing to worry or fear. Return each soul to its karmic cycle in its native land, where it may awaken. Return the burdens of bent backs carrying this body, which we ourselves once needlessly shouldered in this karmic bond. Return all crazed consciousness to the ocean's waves, dissolving into the great sea. Return all fleeting attachments to love, illusions in a mist, so our minds are free. Shadows of bamboo across the courtyard, time drifting by in silence, leaving in me only the thought that soon dissolves with the clouds overhead. Return the dream of this mortal realm. For so many years we woke as if in a trance, waiting at some point in eternal time, in a world that circles endlessly. Return to the sky and earth whatever it once sheltered us under. Return the entanglements of illusions, the lullabies of a caring mother. The mind is bound by birth and death and all sorts of sorrow. Return to autumn forests their yellow leaves. Return letters to the pen. Return the lute to its strings. I go back to my original face, letting all karmic ties be perfectly resolved. Just like that. Take a spoonful of salt and pour it into a glass of water. It becomes very salty. But pour the same spoonful into a lake and it is no problem. Our worries are like that salt. Whether life tastes bitter or sweet depends on whether our hearts are large or small. Happiness comes from a sense of joy, from a light-hearted attitude. Complications often arise from overthinking even simple things. By contrast, something complicated can become simple if we learn to see it lightly and care less. Hence, when facing certain problems, smile, it is enough. Do not make matters so grave. Some people, once you recognize them, that's enough. There is no need to pay more attention. If someone likes to put on a show, you can applaud. Exposing them accomplishes nothing. If a person assumes they are always right, just let them be. There is no need for you to argue. Who you are does not matter, nor who they are. Just don't betray your conscience. Live as naturally as possible. In life, there are countless people, countless events, and countless emotional chapters. Do not cling, keep walking forward with a smile. Be open-minded and you will learn a great deal. Be graceful and life will shine more brightly. Gain clarity and your smile will glow with real happiness. In this human realm, when we have only a little, we want more. When we have more, we want even more. Yet when we lose everything, we suddenly wish we still had just a bit. Merely that little bit would have been enough. There's a saying, knowing enough is enough. If you wait to have enough, when will you ever be satisfied? Knowing contentment is a key to the door of inner peace. Life is not a race, but a journey in which we gradually discover life's meaning. The important thing is not the prize at the finish line, but what we perceive along the way. Therefore, we must be self-aware, knowing that we are fully alive in each breath. If we cannot do that, we are not truly living, but merely existing. We all know the simple truth. We come into this world and leave it with empty hands. Why then fight to possess all sorts of things that were never truly ours? In the midst of this misty existence, although life branches out in myriad directions, choose a path of wisdom accompanied by compassion. Compassion must be guided by insight, adapting to all circumstances, skillfully moving the boat over the shifting tides. When we understand this, life flows harmoniously, and suffering or happiness ultimately springs from the mind. Hence, your mind determines your experience of your own life. Fate is born from within. Choosing a path means deciding your own destiny. Do not cling too much to the past, live fully in the present, and keep your gaze on the future. By doing this, your tomorrow will surely be brighter. Sometimes, confronted by impermanence, a person may feel on the verge of collapse. But if they comprehend the teachings of dependent origination, the idea that all things arise and pass due to interconnected causes, they will see that they have enjoyed far too many gifts from the universe all this time. Now, the universe reclaims a little bit to share with others. There is nothing bitter in that. Wherever there is formation, there will be dissolution. Wherever there is union, there will be separation. Yet most people never want to fail. Many suffer because they want life to be unchanging, while its nature is impermanence. Moreover, some are willing to bring hardship upon others just to gain some personal advantage, seeking their own fleeting happiness. In that false happiness, someone else's loss is always present. But why worry too much about the unpleasant sides of society, since such is the way of the world? If you can let go, you will find peace. Human suffering often springs from desire, anger, and ignorance. Therefore, to be happy, reduce your craving and accept imperfection as part of being human. A person's life, coming naked, leaving naked. Every day, we only need 3 meals. To sleep, we just need a single room. Why harbor boundless desires that only make you perpetually dissatisfied? Excessive desire is the source of suffering. If we want fewer troubles, we must first learn to let go. But remember, letting go means letting go of greed and attachment, not neglecting responsibilities and duties in daily relationships. Everything has a certain karmic reason. Between people, if you regard someone as a bodhisattva, they will appear full of goodness. If you see them as a demon, they will seem frightening. It's like looking in a mirror. If you smile, it shows a happy face. If you frown, it displays sorrow. The same goes for friendships. Treat your friends respectfully, and they will respond with courtesy. If you belittle or shout at them, you will earn their dissatisfaction. Thus, in life, treat friends with sincerity, treat family with love, treat loved ones with tolerance, and treat enemies with forgiveness. If we always apply a kind heart toward everyone, gradually they will feel it and respond in kind. When your heart is filled with good intentions, your quality of life rises accordingly. Appearance follows the mind, and one's surroundings shift along with the heart. A sufficiently large reservoir of goodness will radiate outward, influencing everything around you for the better. People are very simple, yet can be very frightening. A kind-hearted person can embrace everything, while a malicious heart can harm countless individuals. If you are too cunning, others will avoid you. If you are too strict, people will resent you. In any disagreement, if you always fight to the end, if you exploit the slightest advantage without letting up, you ultimately lose people's trust and you degrade yourself. So when confronted with matters of money or benefit, it can be wise to appear a bit naive to maintain harmony. Especially in matters of affection and loyalty, being a little naive ensures you stay true to your conscience. When it comes to arguments, be somewhat naive so your mind is not overwhelmed. When you hear unfounded rumors, be naive enough not to let them burden you. No one is perfect. Everyone has their own way. Some may admire you, others may envy you, and others still may be indifferent, but deep down, no one wants to be involved in the gossip meant for someone else. Those who are truly wise do not live overly shrewd lives forever scheming. They willingly appear a bit slow or naive, maintaining kindness and keeping away from endless rivalries. Life is short. Be content and at ease. Life is hectic. Allow yourself to be a little unassuming and you will find peace and joy. Why? Because people who are too meticulous end up troubled by trivial matters. Big or small, everything seems serious. Overthinking leads to exhaustion, and life is dominated by trivial details, leaving no room for enjoyment and tranquility. Meanwhile, those who let things pass easily do not fret over every detail. Perhaps their lives seem simpler and more casual, but precisely because of that, they discover the true flavor of peace. As you go through life, be straightforward. As you work, be practical. That way, the days flow gently, simply, and at ease. Everyone will encounter unsatisfying situations, and when that happens, we must cultivate patience. Throughout history, anyone who has accomplished great deeds possessed tremendous self-control, and they had to be patient in a big way. Patience is not avoidance, it is a way of gathering strength. One who can be patient tends to avoid mistakes made in hastiness. Kindness is humankind's finest virtue. Being kind may not help you get everything you desire, but it will ensure your soul remains at peace. Maintaining a cheerful spirit is the secret to longevity and youthfulness. People do not stop playing because they grow old, rather, not knowing how to keep their joy alive is what makes them old. A smile is a wonderful cosmetic that creates a person's beauty. It is the quickest way to connect with others. Why do some people, after reaching middle age, have a kind and pleasant face while others appear harsh and full of resentment? It is because looks stem from the heart and appearances change with your inner state. When the heart is beautiful, it shows on the outside. A person whose heart is full of love, every gesture conveys that warmth. A person always fixated on competition will find themselves frequently in conflict. The one who has learned to be forgiving has a broad mind. They do not quibble over every tiny detail and do not exult in small gains. Individuals who obsess over small gains lead very tiring lives. The ancients said, "Retreat one step, and you'll see vast seas and boundless skies." Sometimes retreating is actually advancing. Retreating a bit, yielding a bit, leads to more friendships. Advancing at the expense of losing yourself is not worthwhile. If you must step back to understand yourself, then do so. Even if it means stepping back further, there is no harm done. All of life's values that we strive for are ultimately relative. The word success, placed somewhere in the future by human society, imprisons many people's present lives. What meaning does it have to keep chasing illusions until we forget to live our life right now? When you see white, know it is white. When you see black, know it is black. Do not seek white in black. Do not seek black in white. By recognizing black and white for what they are, you live serenely. Often, human suffering arises from the fear of losing something or someone that they have grown used to. When they truly lose it, they are shaken, feeling as though they have lost the meaning of life, unable to accept reality. But you cannot lose what was never yours. If something truly belongs to you, it will always be yours. If it does not, no matter how tightly you grasp, it will eventually leave. Once you realize that those things you cling to the most are not absolutely necessary, you will gradually become more liberated and happier. Continue to love wholeheartedly, but do not let your own peace and happiness depend too much on any single person. If you get angry, it is because your heart is not big enough. If you are upset, it is because your mind is not expansive enough. If you are anxious, it is because your thoughts are not open enough. If you are sorrowful, it is because your will is not strong enough. If you envy others, it is because your self-esteem is insufficient. Each form of affliction stems from yourself. Whenever these emotions arise, it is a chance to turn inward, see your flaws, and strive to transform them. Anyone who bears a human form possesses some measure of good karma, like a shining moon of blessings. If we fail to nourish that blessing while creating negative karma, we become like the moon waning from the 15th to the 30th day, gradually disappearing into darkness that is truly sad, isn't it? But if we treasure our moon-like blessings, allowing them to grow, we become like the moon, waxing from the first day to the full moon, shining ever more brightly. Help whenever you can. Do not fret over personal losses or wait for gratitude. Life gains meaning through charitable deeds. Keep on giving. Do not hesitate. When you are gone, you cannot take anything with you. The world is full of the needy. A life becomes meaningful when dedicated to giving. Keep loving, regardless of those who envy or speak ill of you. That is the nature of the world. Why cling to it? A meaningful life is one of forgiveness. Share knowledge freely. Do not hoard it. If you die holding everything in, it will be lost forever. A meaningful life is one of sharing. Why think so much? Overthinking leads to headaches. Long and aimless thinking leads to fatigue. Instead of worrying vaguely, it is better to find something positive to do. We only have this one lifetime. Once it ends, there is no coming back, and what is gone cannot be recovered. Each person's time is short, more precious than money, more valuable than any treasure. Do not waste it. Do not think so much, just treasure what is right in front of you. Live each day and understand that day. Once a day has passed, understand that day completely. We cannot predict what will happen a minute from now, nor do we know who among those close to us will leave first. Everyone you care for and everyone who cares for you forms the connections of this lifetime. When it's over, we may not meet again, so why overthink? If you feel tired, rest. If you feel troubled, unwind. In life, there will always be things that do not go our way. Many people will disapprove of you. Do not worry about gossip. Look lightly on the obstacles and people you encounter. Turn attacks into motivation, see failure as a lesson, and continue on your path, doing what you need to do. You are not alone in feeling pain. Everyone has to nurse their own wounds while remaining resilient. Everyone grows while dealing with challenges. Life may be tiring, but it must be faced. The days may be tough, but they must be lived. Remember that everyone has their own hardships, so stay strong and keep going.